Hello, America, and to our friends around the world, greetings and welcome back. This is part 5 of What Everybody is Saying, an ex-FBI agent's guide to speed reading people by Joe Navarro. I forgot to put in there that this is chapter 4, part 5. I said the part 5 part, but that part I left, chapter 4 I left out. It's late, it's almost 11, but I wanted to get this out so that it's there for you guys on Monday. Weak shoulder displays. Speaking of speaking of shoulders, be aware of the person who, while conversing or in reaction to a negative event, moves his or her body so the shoulders begin to slowly rise toward the ears in a manner that makes the neck seem to disappear. The key action here is that the shoulders rise slowly. The person displaying this body language is basically trying to make his head disappear, like a turtle. If you've seen the previous video, you'll recognize this element card, turtling. The cultural and uh, sex prevalence is universal. It is the conflicting behavior is the brow narrowing and elbow close and chair leg wrap are the amplifying gestures. That's at the 9 o'clock position above FR. And SH is for shrug. And the FZ is for freeze. Those are your confirming gestures. Also, let's take a look at FR. That's your micro physiological display, and that is fear. I didn't cover this in the previous video, but you'll see the deception rating scale number is 2.5, and it has the before an answer, during an answer, and after an answer is when somebody will do the turtling display. So keep these things in mind that turtling by itself is not an indicator of deception, but it is ranking above 50%. And when you start adding in other element cards that have, so if you had another one that was 2 or 2.5, it would put deception as likely. So keep that in mind as you're interacting with others. And I've said this multiple times, body cameras as a CYA thing, covering your anterior, that one of the other benefits of having a body camera is that you are able to record these interactions so you can play it back with the sound off and take notes with the timestamp of the video playback and match it with it's a multi-tiered process, but what you do is you have a timestamp of each statement and question made as to who's doing it, and then you have the physiological response, what microexpression and or body language display is being presented. All right, so there's two good reasons to have body cameras. So this is turtling, and we covered it a bit before, and we've covered it more in depth here. All right, so before I continue on, let's take a look at figure 38. Shoulders rising toward the ears causes the turtle effect, weakness, insecurity, and negative emotions are the message. Think of losing athletes walking back to the locker room. All right. The key action here is that the shoulders rise slowly. The person displaying the body language is basically trying to make his head disappear like a turtle. Such an individual is lacking confidence and is highly uncomfortable. I have seen this behavior in business meetings when the boss comes in and says, "Okay, I want to hear what everyone has been doing." As different people around the room proudly talk about their accomplishments, the marginal employees will seemingly sink lower and lower, their shoulders rising higher and higher in a subconscious attempt to hide their heads. This turtle like behavior also shows up in families when the father says, "It really hurt my feelings to find that someone broke my reading lamp without telling me." As the father looks at each of his children, one will be looking down, shoulders rising toward the ears. You will also see these weak shoulder displays demonstrated by a losing football team as they walk, or I would say sulk, back to the locker room, their shoulders seeming to swallow up their heads. Those were always a bummer after spending all that time on the field. All right, and part 5 is going to conclude here the chapter 4. Yeah. One final comment on the torso and shoulders. There are a lot of books on nonverbal behavior that neglect to mention the torso and the shoulders. That is unfortunate because a lot of valuable information comes to us from this portion of our physique. If you have neglected to observe this area of the body for nonverbal clues, I hope the material in this chapter has convinced you to expand your observational range to include the billboard of the body. Its reactions are particularly honest because, with so many of our vital organs housed there, the limbic brain takes great care to protect our torsos. Now I'm going to interject with anecdotal segue again. If you're needing an exercise that provides a static environment of which to experiment with your torso body language, either projecting confidence and strength or whatever it is that you're wanting, and how to interpret whom it is you're interacting with, I would suggest learning how to do what's called social dancing. East Coast swing was the first thing that I had learned to do, and the group of guys that I hung out with, we took East Coast swing and salsa. I then eventually took flamingo, or however it's pronounced. No, tango. That's what it was. Tango. Um, and I found that one very amusing because with the previous two, salsa and East Coast swing, women typically are what's called follows, which means that as a man, you have to set the tone, you have to lead, you have to direct, you run the entire 3 minute dance interaction, and she just gets spun around and dipped and you know whatever. She follows your lead. The tango, on the other hand, is a true partner dance, and the women that had previously had reputations for chastising men for not being good enough leads. Oh, you're not putting your hand on the back correctly, or you're not stepping correctly, or you would hear it either with the partner that you were assigned for that moment, or you would hear it from another woman with another male partner. It was just obnoxious until tango, and boy, did the dominoes or the house of cards crumble. Their egos were so easily popped with Tango because all of this time they'd been arrogant little princesses going out on the dance floor thinking they knew what they were doing and trying to dictate, trying to lead when they're supposed to be the follow. And when the tango came up, they've recognized rapidly they had no skills. Whereas the men, they did have to adapt, but they already had been trained to be leads. But social dancing allows open torso. You're squared up with your partner. You're shoulder to shoulder, face to face, hip to hip. In fact, a lot of the movements, when you take your partner and you do a dynamic tension, you know, pushing your partner out and pulling them in, pushing them out, and then doing a spin or moving them to the left or to the right. Uh, you know, these are all things that you have to coordinate your body language so that you demonstrate confidence in sending that signal to your partner, and you're going to read how your partner is responding to those signals. Anyway, that would be my segue anecdotal exercise that if one is wanting to enhance their skills, blues dancing is extraordinarily good at seductive dance movements. It's very slow. I mean, just think blues music, and then the dance styles that go along with it are very sultry, very uh, they're very escalating. I mean, you keep it professional, but it's really a physical exercise of what it is that would be one would presume to be the ultimate goal, and that is procreation. So I would strongly encourage partnered social dancing as a means of testing your body language skills and to improve your torso body language and body language reading. And this concludes chapter 4, and we will pick up with chapter 5, which is titled Knowledge Within Reach, Nonverbals of the Arm. Yeah, if you've ever seen the Leslie Nielsen Police Squad Naked Gun movie, there's that infamous scene where he's chasing down the doctor who is trying to kill Nordberg. Little did we know about Nordberg's darker associations in real life. Anyway, Leslie Nielsen does the I'm a cop, I'm commandeering this car. And you have, what was it, the professor from the paper chase, the legal drama, being the driving instructor to the high school girl. Anyway, they go through the whole chase scene, and there's a point where the driving instructor instructs her to extend her arm, and so if you haven't seen it, I'm not going to ruin it, but we're all familiar with that form of body language as well as the thumbs up, uh, clapping. So we're going to get into more of that with chapter 5.